I always thought that it's possible. And then people say to me, oh, conducting is actually very difficult. Maybe you shouldn't pick this. Maybe you should conduct choir. Maybe, yes, you can be a music teacher, that's fine, but conducting orchestra, oh. The first conductor I've seen in my life was a woman, and she conducted a big orchestra in Hong Kong, and it was not a problem. Just that simple fact of I've seen it made it possible for me. Hi, I'm Elaine Chan, and this is why you should listen to me.
Welcome back, Elaine. How does it feel to be back in Hong Kong?
It's really meaningful in that sense that because it's been a long time for me to, sort of perform for audiences at home. And the fact that, I wasn't known when I was younger as a musician, So even though I have, played instruments, I have, taken music lessons, I wasn't like, a prodigy that I was like famous as a kid. So to really come back, and it's like a gift that I want to bring to everyone in Hong Kong. I definitely feel this like a responsibility, in a way to show these are my people,
You are one of the few women conductors in the field, and tell us how you ended up being in this profession anyway.
I think music actually, finds its way to knock on my doors many times. I played the piano, I've sung in children's choir. I grew up in Yip's children's choir, which is a big thing in Hong Kong, and I even played the cello, so I had this experience in the orchestra. But I've always, of course, been fascinated by the conductor. And the first conductor I've seen in my life was Yip. It was actually a Hong Kong Philharmonic, one of these schools concerts that she was leading. And I was just fixated by what she's doing, and I thought I wanted to be in her spot.
What did it seem like to you? Why were you so fixated?
Yeah, so I think another big thing in my childhood was the original Disney Fantasia, that Mickey Mouse was the wizard. Well, the student, the apprentice. So, and actually, in the music, the Ducat Sorcerer's Apprentice, that was the episode where Mickey Mouse, tried to pick up this magic wand and try to make some magic, and then he made a mess, right? And then his teacher has to come back and fix it all. But I just love that segment, that moment when Mickey Mouse was like on top of this cliff, and he was like, making making all these spells, and then it's like the stars even sparkles because of the spell. I just love it. And then when I saw Wing Si, conduct it, I just somehow my brain, as a very young girl, right, it just connects those two things. And of course, even Fantasia was such a beautiful production in that sense that the music and the imagination and the visuals are all sort of coming together, right? So, and then when I went to my first concert, I thought Wing Si is it's like Mickey Mouse. That's like what you do. She makes magic, and so that's why it's like this sort of. I really thought that is when your dream can come true like that, right? And I want to be like a magician.
When you saw Wing Si there at the stage, being like one of the few women then, so did you know of other female conductors? What was it that you saw that inspired you?
I think just the fact that she's a woman made it possible, right? Because and I find it very funny because I always thought that it's possible until later on when I studied conducting, and then I saw how little women are enrolled in the program. It's always it's anyway, not many conductors. And then I'm always the only one, or maybe another woman is with me studying together. And I'm like, oh, so actually it's not so common. And then people say to me, oh, conducting is actually very difficult. Maybe you shouldn't pick this. Maybe you should conduct choir. Maybe, yes, you can be a music teacher, that's fine, but conducting orchestra, oh. And I'm like, well, but the first conductor I've seen in my life was a woman, and she conducted a big orchestra in Hong Kong, and it was not a problem. So it's I think so. That's why just that simple fact of I've seen it made it possible for me. So we are in the backstage area in the Hong Kong Cultural Center. And this place means a lot to me because actually I spent too many hours, too many years in this building. I grew up in children's choir, and actually every weekend in my childhood years, the rehearsal was always in this building. So yeah, I basically have known this building for a long, long time. So to come back here and to have rehearsals with the Hong Kong Philharmonic in the hall, it's like everything come back in a full circle.
As a female conductor then, what do you think are some of the unique qualities that a female conductor brings to the table?
We just lead differently. And especially, I think also with the time where we are now as the society, we have also, come to a time which is great that I think the society is ready now to listen to women. I think that the society is much more open for how we as leaders, as women, we can lead in different ways. You don't need to scream to lead, right? You don't need to shout. I think it's much more collaborative. I think as a woman, we also probably, I would say, more in tune or sensitive to maybe feelings, like feeling the room. I think we give a different, side. We see different side of things.
How would you describe your style then?
Well, I think for me is very important to be very respectful. But of course, I'm always prepared. But at the same time, I know I'm also younger than a lot of the musicians. I'm working with people who are also, many of them are older than me, more experienced than me. And, I don't come in and just immediately was like, this is the way. I think the way is sort of, you can come to meet in the middle somewhere. But in the end, of course, I'm still the leader. I also have my vision, but I also, it's a bit of give and take, right? Like a waltz, like a dance. But then in the end, I think I'm leading a bit, but without pushing you to, it has to be like this.
You're the male partner.
Yeah, but I think in the end, it again takes two to waltz.
True. So how do you get people to take you seriously? Because you are young compared to the other conductors. So how do you compensate? How do you convince them that, or do you have to, or do you eventually?
I mean, and this is something I love because usually the expectations is so low. I mean, I'm like, look, I'm little. I'm not a tall lady. I'm Asian, right? And what else? And then if you go into my bio, she didn't she took a while, Yeah, so it's like I'm Asian, I'm little, and I'm a woman. Wow, it's like bad, right? So I usually love to play with this expectation thing. The lower you expect, then we can't go lower. Then we start from there, right? So usually when people will laugh, people will giggle, but usually what happens is once I start, those noises sort of stop, and that's why I think I always come prepared. And at the same time, because I know, I'm young, and I'm also, I'm open to in a way, learn how the orchestra is, right? And of course, respect, this is how they are. I mean, especially when you guest, you have so little time. And there are always good things to appreciate, I mean, like an orchestra, what are their strong qualities and what are the maybe a little things that can be improved. Then we work on those things. But there's always a line, And in the end, I always try to just bring the best out of everyone. How can we make a good experience for everybody? And in the end, it's the audience, right? They come to appreciate this. And the goal is to make good music. And that, I think, is always the best thing when the music becomes the goal and become the only thing everyone should be focusing on. Because once you talk about other things, you open up the Pandora box. Then it's, then you can argue for forever.
But it's music at the end of the day.
Exactly. And I always, in the end, I try to, I don't like to confront people because it's and that always, sort of takes away the focus. But I always love to, okay, if there are problems, we definitely talk about it and see how we can solve it.
You've talked about going beyond your comfort zone. How do you think that has helped you to get to where you are today?
Funnily, you have to go out of your comfort zone constantly to get to where you want to be. If I stay in my comfort zone, I would have never even do what I'm doing at the moment, right? Even boxing, just now I was saying. I remember I was like, okay, I would do sports. And I was like, I remember I saw a boxing class and I thought, this is so crazy. But you know what, why not? It was just this sort of moment of actually, yeah, why not? Because I think we are always the one who actually stop ourselves. I mean, people can tell you whatever. People will tell you so many things. They will want to tell you do this, do that, don't do that, blah, blah, blah. But I think our voices in our head are the strongest one. And usually we are the ones who prevent ourselves from making certain decisions or going certain directions because of, I don't know, we're scared and we have too much risk, that kind of thing. But I don't know, I always find that once you become comfortable, that's when you need to start asking, you need to start worrying. Because it's like, oh no, because that's when you sort of stop. You start to stagnate. And I don't like being, I don't want to stay because that means okay, I always ask questions, I'm always alert. And because I want to keep on growing.
So your philosophy is never stay in your comfort zone.
No. Once you feel comfortable, I mean, it's a nice thing to feel comfortable maybe for a little bit and then, all right, now it's time to go, time to, and stretch in different directions. Yeah.
So on that note, what's ahead then?
Well, I'm also very curious to find out because I'm in a very interesting point of my career because I finished my first job in Antwerp, 5 years, my first chief position. So at the moment, I'm of course I'm curious where is my next home orchestra, which I'm working on it. But at the same time, I'm because that I have more free time, doing operas, doing opera actually is something I've not had the time before. So I'm again jumping out of my comfort zone because I'm how to do an opera? I'm going to do it. I'm going to tackle certain pieces that, that I thought was really difficult. But I'm okay, now I feel it. Now is the time to, take them on, So it's the good things coming and, meeting new orchestras.
Do you see yourself being back in Asia, perhaps?
Well, I definitely want to work more in Asia because Asia is actually one of the regions that is the least that I have traveled and worked. I think audiences in America and Europe are more familiar with me, but also, with COVID, it was, it's been a while now. So I'm actually very keen to, come here more. I mean, of course, my home is Hong Kong, and it is a pity that I'm I do want to share what I love, with people here, with people even, I mean, I haven't even worked in Taiwan, Singapore, Japan, Korea, I mean, let alone even China, I mean, come on. So it's a thing. I mean, I noticed it and I thought, okay, this is a goal,
Okay, so it sounds like we'll be seeing more of you, hopefully in this part of the world.
Yeah. So we'll make plans.
I'm sure Hong Kong people will be welcoming you back and asking you to stay. So thank you so much, Elaine. It's been lovely chatting with you.
Thank you for having me.